So, coming off the ending of chapter 166, if you are still not over the tragic sacrifice of Witch, then get ready to feel 1,000 times worse because Hero decides to drive the knife even deeper by giving us the aftermath of how the crew deals with her death, and one scene in particular in this chapter is truly heartbreaking. Now, before we get into the sad parts of the chapter, we deal with the aftermath to the war. So we go to Temple and we see that with Poseidon dead and Arrow 66 destroyed, the Imperial Army decides to surrender because there's no leadership for them to follow anymore. And then we see an army of dead cam bots surround some Imperial soldiers, and you think for a second that they're actually going to kill them, even though they already surrendered. But Rickard, surprisingly enough, actually stops them, which caught me off guard because I was so sure that a businessman like him would take this opportunity to take complete control over the Outcosmos. But it turns out he truly did just want to fight to protect his bots and nothing more. Then we get the scene that we've been waiting for since chapter 103 of LZ and Ziggy finally coming face to face, and while a lot of fans felt disappointed by the scene, I personally thought it was a great goodbye for LZ. And by that I mean LZ coming to terms fully with the fact that the Ziggy that she knew was gone, and resolving herself to put him down the next time they meet. Although, I will agree, like Ziggy said in the chapter, her best chance of doing this would have been in this chapter right here when the two of them met and he was so severely injured after his fight with Poseidon. But honestly, I actually do respect LZ for deciding not to take Ziggy down now while he's injured and instead waiting until the next time the two of them meet so they can have a fair fight. And honestly, I could see LZ actually standing a decent chance against Ziggy, because so far, Star Drain, in my opinion, has been one of the most powerful ether gears we've seen. Although it does seemingly have the huge drawback of needing to be on a planet to work, but still, the odds of the two of them fighting off planet is very slim. Now, during their conversation, Ziggy mentions that because Shiki chose to run instead of trying to stop the bombs, that changed things, and now he has no idea what will happen next. And he says that we've officially moved from world number 30 to world number 31, which makes me see that moment with Shiki being at divergent paths in a new light, because now it's implied in this chapter that in that moment Shiki created a brand new timeline, just like how Cat Leaper can, which is honestly going to take me a few days to fully wrap my head around how that works. Then we cut over to the Eden Zero and we find out that it's been 2 days since Witch died, but everyone's still feeling down by it. And we start off with Laguna, Jin, and Klein, the 3 newest members of the team, and while they're all sad about what happened, they're even more concerned about what's going on with the others because they had a much stronger connection to Witch, and they know it must be hitting them a lot harder. And while the 3 of them are sitting around a table, we get Wise walking up to Laguna, and we get this moment between the 2 of them where we get a callback to the beginning of this arc when Wise threatened to kill Laguna if any of his friends die on this mission. And Laguna is actually prepared to take whatever hit Wise has for him, but instead Wise decides to bury the hatchet between the 2 of them, realizing that Laguna had lost some friends too on this mission. So going forward, it seems like Wise should be more friendly with Laguna and not as hostile. Then we cut to Sister, Homura, Hermit, Pino, Happy, and Moskoy, and we see that Sister is so depressed by what happened that she starts to wonder who between her and Hermit will die next. And I've been saying for a while now that I do think that Hero plans on killing all of the original Shining Stars and replacing them with new members of the crew, and I think this might be him hinting towards the order he plans on doing it. Then we cut over to the saddest scene of the chapter where we see Rebecca going to visit Shiki, and we find out that he has not eaten since Witch died. And she tried to cheer Shiki up by reminding him what he said to Homura after they found out Valkyrie had died, but he says that he was wrong to say that then, and that he just can't get over what happened. And when he asks Rebecca how she could be so fine right now, she takes off her jacket and reveals that her body is severely suffering the effects of overusing Cat Leaper. And this is when we find out that ever since Witch died, she has been trying to reverse time to save her, but she can't. And she needs Shiki to get back on his feet, otherwise she'll continue to do it until her body is completely wrecked. Which makes him realize that as the leader of this team, he has to try and come to terms with her death so the others can as well. And while I have seen some people memeing on the scene and saying that Rebecca is manipulating Shiki right here, I personally don't see it that way. I see it as 2 people who are both dealing with grief, trying to find comfort in each other, and Shiki realizing that he, as the captain of the team, really has to be the first one to come to terms with what happened in order for everyone else to follow in his footsteps, otherwise he would not be able to lead them. But yeah guys, this is where the chapter ends. Now, this chapter was definitely a somber one, and as heartbreaking as it is to see everyone be so down, this is a very good way to begin to slow things down again before we head into the next major plot. And from what I hear, chapter 168 will also be dealing with the aftermath of the war and dealing with the deaths that happened during it. So I'm hoping that we'll end up checking in with the IUA and see how they react to both Jaguar and Creed's deaths. Mostly because I'm wondering what's going to end up happening with Jesse. Is he going to basically try to blame Creed's death on the Eden Zero crew? Or is Justice going to find out what happened to him, and with how hot-headed he is he going to kill Jesse on the spot? I really hope that ends up getting addressed in the next chapter. But anyway guys, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.